Hey there everyone, my name is Alecia. I'm a third assistant director, and this video is to give you a little overview of the exciting world of walkies. In this video, I'm gonna be going over a lot. It's gonna be about an hour, so get comfortable. I have this little prop walkie-talkie I'm gonna use just so I have something in my hand. Obviously, it's not one we use on set because it costs about $30, but I'll also insert some photos so you guys can see what I'm talking about if it's a little unclear. So I'm gonna break this video down into 5 sections just to make things a little organized. We're gonna have intro to walkies, walkie breakdown, paperwork stuff, walkies in prep, walkies during the show, and then walkies at wrap. I'm gonna make this as exciting as I can, because walkies should be exciting. Don't be scared of them, don't go in and be nervous. It's something you get to do now and have some control over because you're Tad. It's like something more than just garbages. It's more responsibility, but it can be quite fun when you put effort into it and you really take it on as your job. Intro to walkies. Prop walkie. Real walkies. So when you do a show, you're either gonna get digital walkies that have a little screen that have the channel on them displayed and the battery, or you're gonna get an old school one that's just nothing. It's just a big black piece of whatever these things are made out of. The screen on the digital one is quite handy because you can see what's going on, you can see the channel you're on, you can see how much battery you actually have left before you get to that annoying beep, and then you don't accidentally go to the grip channel when you meant to go to channel 2 to ask Crafty for some medicine for your boss. So those are the 2 bodies you'll get, either a digital one or a non-digital. Which ones you get really just depends on what was available and what production wanted, if there was a preference. And if you did have a preference, you could chat to the production office before they're ordered and see if there's a chance of, hey, could we get the digital ones? Hey, could we get the non-digital? So next on the walkie, you have the antenna, which screws off. Not on this guy, but it just goes nyoop, nyoop, nyoop. So of course, if you've been in film, you've been a PA, you know that most of the antennas are the long ones. You've probably seen ADs often have little short ones called stubbies, or you've seen the people who love to destroy their ones by bending them over and taping them. Very bad. The only difference I've really found with the stubby ones is the range isn't as good, but it's so minimal that it's kind of like whatever. And I have actually encountered best boys and keys who have their own stubbies, and when they get their walkie, they just swap them out. You just have to be aware of that and have it in your notes. Other things you'll have on your walkie, of course, your side button to talk, which if you've been in locations, again, you should know how this works. Press, then talk. Very important. Press, then talk. None of this talk press, because then no one can understand you. So then on the other side of your walkie, not the one with your little speaking button, you have like a little rubber prong that opens, and that's where your headset goes in. If you're using an actual film headset, it'll be the little 2-prong that just goes in. Or if you're using something else like, generic headphones, it'll just be the one. The quality won't be as good for sound, but you can get away with it in a pinch. You really should have an actual film headset and backups. Especially when you're a TAD or an AD in general, communication is key. You need to have your tools to communicate with your team. Next thing on your walkie is the battery. Again, this is my prop walkie. This is not exactly how the production ones are. The base of your walkie will have a little clicky piece, and you just move it to one side, and the bottom, aka the battery, will just slide off. So the battery just goes on the back like this. So those are all the important components of a production walkie that you would actually be using. You have your speaking button, you have your charging port, you have the battery that comes back on and off, and you have your little twisty antenna. So now we're into accessories you get with your walkies. First thing is chargers. There's a couple different types of charging banks you can get. The first one, which is my preference, is this guy. Insert photo here. So these ones are great because they're a lot lighter. The cord is one little piece. They fit into kits really well. When I was a TAD, I had the tall, big, hefty toolbox, like the one you could sit on as a chair, but it just flipped open, the charger fit in there great. They also fit in the little hand rolly ones. If you're talking to whoever is ordering the walkies and accessories in the office and you have a say, I highly recommend trying to get this guy versus this other one, which is this beast right here. They're just a lot bulkier. They don't fit in kits as well. The cord has a huge extra box piece on it. They still do the job, just not as efficiently, in my personal opinion. So those are your 2 bank chargers. Then you have single chargers, which are the little circle ones. That's just for one walkie or one battery. Usually those ones will go to like the Crafty truck. There's a couple other people who sometimes like them, but we'll cover that in another part of the video. So for charging batteries, same thing across the board. Obviously red is dead, and usually they'll just go green when they're like, I think it's 80 or 90 90%. But the other thing you can do if you're desperate for batteries at any point, just put your hand at the base of the batteries that are charging. Even if they're all red, just feel whichever one is the hottest. If it's been in there long enough to get hot, it could be 70% charged. It's just still red. So always just go with that one first because it's been in there and got the most juice. Another accessory you'll get with all your walkie stuff is headsets. And it'll be those nice like fast food style ones that everyone loves so much. Kind of makes you look like a pop star. The other accessory usually you'll get a couple of is those little cop microphones. So they clip anywhere here. It's a little mic, you click it to talk, and then it just hooks into your walkie-talkie. In my experience, I only actually know 2 people who actively use those. So it's good to have a couple, but if you feel like they've ordered you way too many, you can just be like, we don't need these. So when it comes to troubleshooting walkies and all the accessories, there's a couple things you can do, but there's only so much before it gets inefficient and it just makes more sense to send it to the office and have them swap it out. If you live in Vancouver, you know that rain is a problem and things tend to get waterlogged. Walkies can get waterlogged. They're pretty sturdy, the ones we use, but it can happen. But headsets are more likely to actually get waterlogged. So if someone's having a problem, you can't hear them, you can't understand them, they sound like mor, 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 mor. Try giving them one of your headsets while theirs dries out or they get a new one and see if that solves the problem. If that doesn't work and they're still sounding like wah, 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 swap out their walkie, see if it's the actual walkie that's waterlogged. Sometimes the other one just needs time to dry and then it's totally fine. Sometimes it destroys it a lot more and it actually has to go into the office. Headsets, the only thing you can really do for headsets is try them on multiple walkies, try them on a couple different channels. Chargers, they all have different cords, so if a charger's not working, you can try it with a different cord, try it with a different outlet, make sure there's different batteries because maybe it's just the battery that's not charging. Basically any troubleshooting with any walkies or accessories is just trying things with different pieces because there's one piece that's not working and you just have to find which one that is. And once you've narrowed it down to this is the thing that's not working, you can send that into the office, let them know, be like, hey, this piece is just not charging, and then they can swap it out and get you a new one. So that's basically all your walkie-talkies and accessories, all the little bits and bobs you'll get. The only other thing I will mention before I move on to the next section is long-range transport walkies. You do not deal with those. Those walkies are not ordered by you, are not inventoried by you, are not serial numbered or labeled by you. Those are 100% taken care of by the transport department. So you don't have chargers for them, you don't have batteries with them. In 5 years of film, I have never even touched one of those. It's just not part of your stuff. Section 2, walkie breakdown. So doing a walkie breakdown is kind of the first official piece of paperwork you get to do as an AD, which is nice. Again, exciting, right? Depending on the type of show you're on, feature, series, MOW, pilot, the actual breakdown and the format of the breakdown is not going to change much. What will change is the amount of walkies you have. And for breakdowns, you can make it in Word, Excel, Google Docs, just whatever works best for you and your system. You can build it from scratch. You can use someone's template exactly how they've built it. You can take someone's template and change it a little bit and make it more to your liking. Usually for ADs, I find that whether it's a call sheet, a DPR, a trailer breakdown, a walkie inventory, the template you're using or the template someone else is using has usually been taken from someone else that's been changed slightly and they took it from someone else that was changed slightly. So all the documents we're all using have just been passed around and modified, and you just modify things to what works for you and how your brain works. The concept of a walkie breakdown too is very simple. In the next section, I'm going to go over more detailed the process of building it. Basically all it is it's a chart and you have the serial number, the front label, and then whatever you've put as the label inside the back of the walkie. So inside where the serial number is, people will always put another little sticker in there or a piece of tape, and sometimes it just matches what's on the outside. So if on the outside it says first AD, I'll just put AD1. Or if you have room, you put first AD, you could write the whole thing. I've also seen some people have their own system where they just do every single walkie, the inside is just 1 to 125, and it doesn't actually match up with what's on the outside. Again, that's just totally your preference, whatever works best for you, and whatever is going to help you most at the end to get all your walkies back. I'm not gonna brag, but I did retire from my TAD career with only one missing walkie, grip 3. I still think about grip 3 to this day, but that is your main goal with these walkies and accessories, is to get them all back at the end. It is so satisfying and it looks so good on you when you're like the master of walkies. There's only so much I can explain about the paper copy of a breakdown in this video, so I really recommend looking at it, messing around with one, maybe trying to build your own, seeing what you like. It's really just a chart showing all the info about the walkie that comes on it and that you've put on it, and then if there are specific people who that walkie is going to, you can put their name next to it. So for example, the AD department. First you'd have the serial number, then you'd have whatever label is on the front of the walkie, first AD maybe, then on the inside whatever sticker you've put in the walkie, which might be first AD, might be number 1, whatever works for you. If you've given it to your first AD John, then it could say John, and then the second AD one could say Rachel, and blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. Tech departments like LX and Grips, who have a lot of day calls, it's a little harder. So you can have the key, the best boy, maybe the board op, the Jenny op, those ones can be labeled, and then the rest you could just have LX1, LX2, LX3, LX4. As you get into shooting, you can always talk to the best boys and be like, hey, do your guys have assigned walkies? Because it would really help me to write down who has what. Because a couple are always going to be for day calls, so they're not going to be permanently assigned to anyone. So as much as you can fill in on your breakdown of who is actually assigned to what walkie, the better it is just for tracking. It's good to tie someone on paper to that walkie, because if they're aware of that, it makes them a little more responsible, because they're like, oh, my name is down for that walkie, that is my responsibility. So that's technically section 2, the walkie breakdown, but it is going to cross over into the next section, which is walkies in prep. It is kind of all one thing. The breakdown, like I said, I can only say so much about it. You kind of gotta see it, fiddle with it, tweak it, see how you like it. So now let's go to section 3, walkies in prep. You get hired for the first time as a TAD. You're finally gonna get to know how the office works, how things run, what all your bosses are doing in prep. Quite often the person that's gonna call you and give you the rundown is your second AD. They'll let you know what your start date is, how many days of prep you have, and of course your prep days are going to vary quite a bit based on the show you're doing. If it's a MOW, you and your third might both literally have 1 day for prep, which definitely is stressful, but you just have to do the best you can with the time you're given, even if it doesn't feel like a realistic amount of time to get the job done. You guys know this job, it's film, it's crazy. Being crunched for time is something that you will encounter very often, so it's great practice. If you're on a series, maybe you have more like 2 or 3 days. I had one first AD who liked to give me as much prep as possible, which often was about 5 days, which is a good chunk for a TAD. This first was also particular about how they wanted their walkies labeled, so they knew I needed almost 3 days alone to get the walkies labeled for that reason. So yes, the amount of time you get for prep can vary quite a bit. Every show is different. Take whatever you learned on that show because it's gonna help you on the next one. So you go into the office your first day, say hi to your team, meet everyone, do your start pack and deal memo, and then you just want to get started on the walkies. Either they're already gonna be there or they're not coming until the next day or the next day. It just depends again on how much prep you have. So go check in with your third and second AD, because sometimes one of them has already done a rough breakdown. They may have talked to the departments already to get rough ideas, and they may have not. They may have just made one up based on common numbers and what they know. But just check in with them, see what they've done. If they've already given a number and done a rough breakdown, you're still going to need to go through the departments and check with people what they need for walkies to confirm that number is still accurate, if you need to order more walkies, or if what you have is good. Maybe you have a lot of prep and your second and third are way too busy, they didn't do any of it, which is fine. All it means is you just sit down with your crew list, you go through the departments, and you make a count. Figure out how many you need. You can do this in any way. You can text people, you can call people, you can email people, or you can walk around and talk to them in person if they're there in the office. Whatever works for you, whatever you're most comfortable with, whatever you feel like is most efficient. Sample numbers I will have on my example walkie breakdown, which you can look at. There are kind of standards people go by. Just depends on the show, whatever the numbers are. Things will always vary a little bit, but you still want to go through and get the word from each department what they say they require and write it down. So you can also ask people what they want for accessories. There's some things that are just kind of standard, you know, like you'll give every truck one of the big bank chargers. Crafty truck normally gets a little one. Costumes truck, maybe they have a lot of on-set costumers and a couple truck costumers and they need a big bank. Maybe they just want a little one. Sometimes best boys even want a stash of 2 headsets on the truck. See exactly what people say, write it all down. After you have that list together, if there was a preliminary breakdown already done by your second or third, I would compare them, just because if you need more than what was originally on there, you're gonna wanna show the PM. They're gonna look over things and be like, why does that department want an extra one? Then you just have to explain, be like, they said they need one for this person, and this person. It's not up to you to argue those things. You just collect the information and let your production manager know what people have told you they need for the show. Once you have your list together, the PM's been like, great, everything looks good. You can pass it off to the production coordinator or the office PA or whoever's doing walkies. Literally, it's a different coordinator every time who's dealing with them. It's totally their preference. I also like to email everything out, so normally when I do a breakdown, I would just email it anyways to the PM, the production coordinator, aka whoever's ordering walkies. I usually CC my second AD on it just so they see what's up and what I'm doing. A tip I have gotten from bosses in the past is just always CC your second AD on things. It's good for them to see what you're up to. And from a third AD's point of view, I would totally encourage my TADs to CC or include me in any of their emails they send out, whether it's breakdowns or walkie updates. Because sometimes I'm in the trailer and I maybe have to hand a walkie to someone. It's just good for me to be involved in that information as well. When you're doing your count as well, you want to remember to have spare walkies. I always think 10 is like a safe number, and these 10, just mind you, are not including, say if you have a huge day coming up and the office has to order 50 additional walkies. It's not including that. You should always just have around 10 additional walkies that can be used as spares if one breaks, if there's crane guys in, if there's greens guys in, if there's a paint guy, maybe he's not a regular on the show but he's just here once in a while. And how you distribute those walkies, say construction, paint, greens, just depends on the show and how often they're in. Say if you have a construction guy who's in a couple times a week but not every day, you could label that walkie as construction and just keep it in the AD trailer or keep it in your kit. Make a plan with him. He knows where it is. He can just go and grab it when he's in. But then when he's not working, you have that as a spare. Maybe if you have a stunt coordinator who's in almost every day, but not every day, he wants to keep it. Maybe he likes to keep it in this office. He just wants to show up, be on set, already have his walkie. You just have to talk to people, see what they like, see what works for you. Do you have enough walkies for them to just keep it? Or are you limited on this show and you need to have them back at the end of every day? Everything is just so situational. There's rules, but there's not a strict line to follow. You have to be able to work with what you got. Going back a little bit, after you've confirmed with everyone what they need in terms of numbers, you've given those numbers and the breakdown to the PM and the coordinators. They've ordered the walkies. Now the walkies come in. Hooray! Now you get to sit down for about 12 hours writing labels and ripping tape, and it's so thrilling. I miss it so much. You don't want to be working in a tiny little room where your first and second are sharing a desk. Their brains will explode. Just talk to like the office PA if there's like a space you can go and spread out and do your walkies. So you're gonna take all your boxes to your little prep space. Something you would do if you actually have a few days of prep and time is you could go through, have one walkie open, and then test all the others that they actually work and come through on that. But if you're on an MOW and you have one day, you're not gonna have time. You just gotta get the labels on. If you're on an actual show where you have time, which is great, you can do that. You can check they all work. Check the AD ones. Go and check channel 16 that all of them work, because it's just a pain to like do all of them and then first day you find out channel 16 doesn't work on your first walkie. Okay, so this whole process I'm going to go over with you is how I did mine. This does not necessarily mean you have to do it this way. Maybe someone has told you a different way and you prefer it. But this worked for me, and like I said, I only ever had one missing walkie. That's my claim to fame here. You take the walkies to your space. There's gonna be a piece of paper that's maybe a few pages that has all the serial numbers of all the walkies you have received. If the office PA wants the original, just go make a few photocopies for yourself, give them the original. Then you're going to count everything you have, all the accessories, all the walkies, all the spare antenna, whatever, every piece of equipment you have received. Count it, make sure it matches what's on the paper, write it down, everything's here, great. Then plug everything in and start charging it. Charge all the walkies, charge all the batteries. Next, everything's charging, you've counted it all, the numbers are all great, and you're gonna take that piece of paper that has all the serial numbers of the walkies and everything you ordered on it. So you're gonna take this walkie from your pile, take the back battery off, look at the tiny little serial number that is usually very hard to read. You often cannot tell if zeros are zeros or D's or O's. Just do your best. Then you're gonna take that huge paper that came with the walkies that has all the serial numbers on it, and you're gonna highlight that serial number that matches this. This is a pain and takes a while, but it is gonna make it a lot easier for you at the end of the show to match everything up. So you take that list, highlight that number, make a little note next to it that's the first AD one. Then you're gonna take your actual inventory, whether it's on your computer or on a piece of paper, and you write down the serial number in your nice graph, whatever you're doing it on. So serial number, first AD, which is the outside label, and then your inside little label, whether it's number 1 or AD1 or whatever you've chosen as your inside label. This sounds like a lot of work, but it's basically making it as foolproof as possible, so it's super easy and your brain doesn't explode at the end of the show when you're trying to inventory everything. So you should make a note of it on the actual serial number paper and then on your breakdown. So then after that, I just take my white tape, rip a little piece. Some people, instead of white tape for the inside, would just use, like sticky notes or little stickers, whatever you can write on, and you put it inside where the serial number is, and then you would write AD1. Keep putting the little sticky on the inside of the walkie. I don't put the backpack on. I just keep going through, putting them in the pile until I've gone through every serial number. I know all of them are there and all of them match what I have, because maybe they give you the right amount of walkies, but not all the serial numbers actually match what is on there, which is gonna hurt your brain badly at the end of the show, and then you'll be questioning, are we missing something? Did this walkie actually come with our batch? Is it from another show? I don't know. So you go through that, which is gonna take a couple hours, of course. You've confirmed that all your serial numbers match what you actually have, and you've labeled the inside of your walkies so you know which is which. So after that, you have all the insides of your walkies labeled and match up to a serial number. So it says AD 1, 2, 3, 4, the LX best boy, maybe you just have room for LX BB, then LX 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you get to go to the start of your walkies again and start with the front labeling. So you take your nice white cloth tape that either you brought with you or you got the office PA to order you some. Then you have this nice little piece of cloth tape. It just goes on like that. Oh, wow, crooked. Here's what it kind of looks like. See, it looks just like work. And then you write the label and that's it. The reason you should always do the inside label is because these fall off and people remove them. Weird things happen. They put stickers all over them. So it's always good to have the inside label and this outer label. And then you've matched it all to the serial number. This is a pretty standard label. Nice big clear writing on it with Sharpie for whatever position it belongs to. And this is really all you can do if you have a day or two of prep. Going back to the first AD I mentioned, who liked me to have a lot of prep, this is not how I did them. This is only half of what I did for them. So you might have a first, or if you're on a show where you have more prep and you want to be a little fancier, put in some more effort, you can do proper printed labels with channels on them. People who have done this in the past, I know, would say, oh, well, it doesn't stay on because you have to use packing tape over a printed label and the packing tape doesn't stick long to these. So I went all out because this first AD wanted them nice and I was like, I'm gonna do them nice. I'm gonna do them proper. They're gonna last. So I'm gonna show you how I did fancy walkies. Here's a very messy version of a standard walkie. When you do it, it should be much more beautiful and more readable than this. So I'd put the label on like this. Then I would take the little piece of paper that had all the channels printed on it. So it'd say channel 1, production, channel 2, chat, channel 3, grips. And it would go through all the channels like that, nice and printed. And then I would put it on the front of this. Then I took packing tape and put packing tape over top of it. So it's sticking the packing tape to the label, which seems pretty solid. And then I went a step further because I was crazy and I took little labels that again said what was on the front of the walkie and I put them on the side like that. I know it seems insane, but these labels did not fall off because the packing tape was on top of white tape and then also being held down by more white tape onto the walkie. So these things were solid. They did not come off through months of rain. And this is what I called a proper label. Again, a lot more work. I only did these when I had actual prep time, like 3 to 5 days. If you have 1 or 2, there's no way you have time to do these because it takes much longer, but it looks gorgeous. You can have people's names on the top printed and stuff. What you should also do is not just label the walkies now, is label the chargers and all the bits and bobs. So grips are obviously going to have a charger on their truck. LX will have a charger on their truck. Camera will have a charger on their truck. Locations should get one. If you have a bunch of extras, sometimes you get so many, Locations maybe wants 2, because then they don't have to come to you for batteries. They can just get them themselves from their own chargers. You'll need one for the AD trailer. Again, maybe you have a spare and you have 2 in the AD trailer. The TAD yourself would need one on set with your kit. The mini chargers, it's nice if Crafty can have one. Costume truck could be a big one or a small one depending on what you have, what you need, what they need. Hair makeup, my last show the TAD gave hair makeup each a little single charger, so they always had like a battery in there charging. All those accessories you want to label, you can just use a nice big piece of white tape. Even the charging cords, I liked to be extra safe and just take a little piece of white tape, wrap it around, so you can cut it off at the end of the show, but just put, you know, like grips. Because then if they lose their cable or get swapped or something, like it still has that label of yours on it. For headsets, I would keep them all in their baggies, and I would have like a little piece of paper that just went in the baggie. And when someone signed out a headset, they got the headset, their name and department and the date got written on a little piece of paper and stayed in the baggie zipped up. And it only leaves the baggie or gets crossed off, or however you want to do it, when that headset is back in that bag. That way there's always a note in the bag or there's a headset in the bag, one or the other, so you can always know who has it. Once you have all your walkies labeled, everything's charged, you have all the numbers you need, everything looks very beautifully labeled, then you're gonna take everything by department. So let's say you take all the grip walkies. You're gonna take all their walkies, their bank charger, maybe they ask to have one spare headset with them permanently the whole run of show. So you're like, okay, that headset is officially signed out with the grips gear. It's theirs for the show. So you're gonna put all those things on a pile on the desk or on the floor, make it nice and obvious so you can see the labels of everything, and just take a picture. Do it for every single department, do it for your spares. Even if the department literally only has 1 or 2 walkies, take a photo of everything by department. Then you have those, and what I also like to do is send a photo of that to every best boy or person in the department that is the dealer of walkies. So they have it and you have it. Along with that, something I liked to do was write a little individual inventory for all the departments. So I would just copy and paste from the inventory I've already built, put it onto a new blank document, put the show name, the date, just be like, grip walkies for this show, and then you can just have exactly how many are signed out. They have the inventory number, they have all the information. Even if they don't really care about it or pay attention to it, it shows them that you are on it. You know exactly what they have when they signed it out, and you're not gonna let stuff get lost easily. So when they're aware that you are on your stuff, it's gonna make them a little more on it about not losing your things. And speaking of that inventory, which I'll talk about in a bit, I would usually do a few of those over the show. I did one when they first signed them out, I did one mid-show, and then I did one a couple weeks before the end of the show when we're getting ready to wrap. But what I would do, you know, in prep, I'd go around in the office, whoever is there and whoever I can get walkies out to before we start shooting is so helpful. So I'll take a nice box, all their walkies are in that, all their accessories, that paper. I've texted them the photo. Maybe I wanted to print out the photo. It's all together. You just take them the box, boom, here you go, see you day one. And a lot of times you can get most of them out in prep. You'll always be able to get out locations and transport in prep because their offices are right there, plus they're the big departments. You want to get rid of those, get them off your hands. If costumes is there prepping, maybe the hair, makeup, and AD trailer are there at the studio and you can go put them inside. You can text the best boy grips and LX. Maybe they're coming by the stage in a couple days before we actually shoot and they just want to grab their box there. But just communicate with people. Don't be scared to text people and ask questions or let them know, hey, your walkies are going to be ready in about an hour. Do you want me to pass them off to you? just see what they say. But the more you can get out before day one of shooting, the easier your morning is going to go. That's an overview of what to do in prep. You could also get people to sign when they get them. I prefer to just do the photo of what they have, the individual inventory for them, and then before we actually start shooting, I kind of like to send out another inventory just that the PM and the coordinators have that's like, this is the final walkie inventory of prep for this show. Here's what everyone has. And you can also, at the end of the inventory, add all those photos in by department. So it's nice and clear. You don't even have to put labels. You can just be like, below are the photos of what each department has. Because if you've taken a nice clear photo and your labels are nice and clear, it's very easy to be like, ah, yes, there's all the grip ones. Perfect. They have 7 walkies. I can see the labels. I find that covers your butt better and is more organized. Also, I feel like people don't take signing very seriously when it comes to like signing walkies out. It's like the photo in the inventory has been more effective in my experience. Oh, our next section though. Time to go on to section 4, which is walkies during the show. Day 1 of shooting. I always liked to go in grossly early on day 1. From the time when I was a PA to a key PA, then as a TAD, and now as a third. Day 1 is always going to be a little crazy. I just like to go in and feel super solid. Even if I end up waiting around for half an hour, I just like to know that I have gotten everything done that I need to do to make my day go as smooth as possible. Especially if you didn't have time in prep to load up the trailer. It's really lovely when the AD trailer is there wherever you are prepping. Sometimes it will not be. Maybe you have to go in early and the walkies have to be dropped up by transport, and then you have to load them into the trailer. Hopefully you have gotten most of them out in prep and you just have like one little box you have to take in with your kit to distribute the few remaining. Maybe, you know, just some onset people. Crafty, which should always be the first person who gets a walkie, by the way, is first aid craft services. Much better for them to have gotten in prep, but if for some reason you guys weren't able to get together and pass it off to them, then get it to them ASAP on day 1. Then you can head to set, take all your walkies, get them out to the set people who are missing them, get it to your first AD. Again, if they didn't take it in prep, the more people took them, the better. Storing your walkies and accessories as well. You want to have it nice and organized in your kit, so it's easy for you. Everything in your kit should be organized anyways. And then you want to have it nice and organized in the AD trailer. Hopefully you have one that has enough space and is not a shack. But if you've been around the circus ever, even as a PA, you'd know that there's some pretty scary little AD trailers that don't have a lot of space. Your third will normally organize the AD trailer how they want it for them, because it is their trailer. They're the ones working there. And then if there's a little spot for your stuff and your walkie things, they'll show you kind of what is available. I always like to make sure there's like a nice chunky space for all the walkies and the kit and stuff. You just don't always have that luxury. Sometimes there's a spare honey wagon room that isn't really going to be used a lot of the show, and I would give that to my TAD and be like, you can put all your kit and like your walkies and all your extra stuff in here, which is also nice. It works. But just remember to keep your stuff in the trailer organized. If your third is having to like clean your mess of walkies and deal with your accessories because they're all falling out onto the floor, they're gonna be so upset. So please don't do that. Just keep your stuff in there organized. They're working in this little box all day for 15 hours a day. Just keep it nice and clean. Depending on where circus is as well, or how close you are to the AD trailer, you might want to have a stash of spares in there. Maybe there's a lot of crew who pass the AD trailer first and want to go pick up their spares from there. If that's the case, have something there for your third to make it easy for them to help you with your system of signing out. Maybe they have their own little board where people come, they can just snap a photo for you, sign them out, then send you the photo. Make sure they know what they can take if people come and ask. Just make it obvious so they can do the best to help you that they can without scrambling and spending 10 minutes looking for your stuff. Tracking walkies on a day-to-day basis. I know I keep saying everything is, you know, what works for you, what your preference is. There are just so many ways to track walkies during a show. Like, this is probably the one thing that actually has the most versions of ways you could do something. You could have a sign out sheet physically, you could have a little notebook, you could literally use your notes on your phone, you could have a live Google Docs that you update. One thing I did on a show as well, because we were never near the AD trailer, I actually just took a little piece of white tape every morning, put it on the back of my phone case, and I would write down all the spares I was taking to set with me that day. And those were all the ones that were in my kit. Then as I gave them out, I would just write the person's name and department and take their photo next to that. And as I got it back, I would cross it off. Then at the end of the day, I just go back to the AD trailer, make sure I had everything on here that I wrote in the morning, and like that was it. And if someone still had one, I would add it to my proper like computer inventory. Sometimes it gets a little hectic to fully go in and, you know, type up or like go on your Google Docs. So it's nice to have quick way if you're in a hurry, you know, snap a photo, write it down really quickly there. It's not bad to have a few different ways to track. The one that is so important is the photo. People hate it so much, but just play it off. Be like, I'm so sorry, haha, I know, I just gotta take a photo, you know, for the inventory. Again, that's something though that's gonna make them more aware. If they know you have a photo of them, they're gonna be stressing to find you and get it back to you at the end of the day. If you ever have a day player that escapes with a walkie, you have a photo of them, but you don't have their phone number, just call or email the office PA. They will have a list of all the people. They'll have their number or their email. You can reach out to the person. If I get to a point where a walkie has been missing for a couple days, either it was from another department's original count or it was a spare someone took and they can't remember where they put it, or it's from my kit and someone actually took it to borrow and they just didn't tell me. I like to just send out an email to the PM, the production coordinator, say, hey everyone, just so you're aware, walkie Green's number 1, serial number this, was lent out to John Green's on this date. He has been unable to find it. We are currently on the hunt, but as of now, we don't know where it is. I just like to do that for me because it feels like it's covering my butt more. It's keeping people in the loop of where things are going. Maybe one department is being terrible with walkies and very prone to misplacing them. It's not the most important thing in the whole world for your PM to know, but again, I just like to keep people in the loop and in the know. Maybe every couple weeks this department loses a walkie. If your PM sees that during the show, that's gonna be a lot better. If the Grips lost 4 walkies, they're not gonna be like, what? Where'd they all go? Like, why didn't I know these guys were being terrible with their walkies? Just comes as a little less of a shock and it puts less of the oomph on you. You also do an official mid-show inventory. How you do it exactly could depend on what your PM wants or what the office wants. If they would literally want you to collect everything back and do a full count, you slowly do it through the day. You talk to your team, hey, whenever I can, I might just step off today because I gotta go and like do a lot of collecting and counting. Obviously, if it's completely not possible to do that because you're full on set, you just gotta talk to them and let them know. I actually never did a show where they wanted me to fully collect them and take them back. What I would do, remember that little personal inventory I gave to every department? I would basically go through all of those, add in any spares they've received and still have. Basically, I'd give every department an updated version of that. I'd have it on there twice, showing a little chart being like, here's what you got at the beginning of the show, and then below be like, here is what you currently have. Please check your inventory, confirm with me that you still have everything listed here. If not, please let me know by the end of the week. I had people who were like, you know, not paperwork people, best boys who were like new best boys who really appreciated that. And they were like, oh my God, it's so nice to see it all together in one thing, just to remind me what I have. So they would take that paper, when they're doing paperwork, they would just go through their team's walkies, make sure it's all there. Then they'd come back to me and be like, yes, we're good. Then I would send out a mid-show breakdown with everything together, being like, this is the updated version, this is what everyone has. Everything on here has been confirmed by each department. That's how I did it. Some shows, that's not enough and they want you to actually take everything in and fully see everything into account. I just put a ton of effort in the beginning with all the papers and the photos and stuff, so I felt like I didn't actually have to collect them back and see them. I was putting my faith in the best boys, but it worked for me. And I think it really helped the other people around me track their stuff as well. So now, speaking of working with and helping the best boys, it's like anything, the more you can help them, the more they'll help you, and it becomes this great symbiotic working relationship, especially when there's things like big manpower days. You need to know when they need more walkies. Early on in prep too, when you're talking to the best boys about how many walkies they need, just bring up their breakdowns and how they do their manpower days and how they plan to let you know when they need more walkies. You can kind of sense when it's bigger days. You know, if you read the schedule, you pay attention to the breakdowns, you look and read the prelim and see when it's bigger days coming up. Normally you could look at a day and be like, that looks like a big day. I wonder if they're gonna need more. And sometimes you might text and check in and be like, hey, do you guys have more people coming in on Thursday, or you need more walkies? What's up? And sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, oh my God. But you really wanna train them so they know they need to tell you. This job is all training adults, remember. If they can send you their labor breakdown, that's great, because then you can see how many extra people they have on different days. Schedules do change though, so they should be on it about updating you and letting you know. Just be very clear and prep, be like, I only have so many spares. If you guys get to a point where you're gonna need a bunch, you need to let me know like a week before. Like the office can definitely do shorter notice orders, but it's just gonna be a pain for everyone. Cause you also need to do a new like mini breakdown. Just write something like, hello everyone, so after speaking to all the departments for the big 3 days next week downtown, these are the following amounts of spares we will need. And you just write like grips, 4 spares, LX, 4 spares, set deck, 1 spare. You can break it all down just so they can see who's asked for what. If you have all the info, you don't have to go back and ask people for questions when the PM asks you that. Have all the answers already when you go to them. Get that okayed. Hey, I'm gonna need like 15 more walkies for this week because we have so many big days downtown. They need to okay it, then the office needs to know, the office needs to order them, they have to come in, you need time to label them. A lot of times though, when you have extra batches coming in, the office PA will just label the spares. They'll just do them with another color too, like pink tape or green tape, and it'll be like 1X, 2X, 3X. They'll label them, they'll just bring them to you, then you just have to track people with photos and stuff. Because normally those extra walkie days, you'll only have them for like a week or something, depending on the schedule, and then you just give them back to the office and they return them. You might even get to a point where you've realized you need more spares in general for the whole show. Because what often will happen the first week of shooting, you'll realize that 3 of your spares are actually now permanently out to people because they underestimated what they need, which happens all the time. People like will often underestimate. So then your spare 1, 2, and 3 become permanently elsewhere. If that's the case and you get to a point where you're struggling for spares, let your PM know again. Just be like, hey, just let you know I've permanently given out these 5 spares to these people. I'm now down to 5. I'm lending them out so consistently. I really think I'm gonna need another 5 or 10 spares for the show. You're just letting them know the situation and then they can adult it and fix it. If a walkie is damaged or has to go back to the office to get swapped out, just update in your breakdown. Don't remove the old serial number. Put in the new serial number below it and just be like, this was swapped on this date, replaced with this walkie. Then you just put a nice new label on it. Perfect. Everything you do, make sure you're preparing it for yourself at the end of the show when you wrap. I always think, what is future Alecia gonna be super thankful that present Alecia did? You just wanna have all the information clear for yourself. If it's something as simple as just a walkie's being weird and needs to be swapped, I don't usually email about that. If something has been like so significantly damaged, then I might make a little note and let my PM know, but they're also gonna see an L&D if it gets like run over by a truck. Whatever happens to them, just make notes at the very least for yourself. The last thing I want to cover, which kind of goes back to looking at the schedule and looking ahead, is read the prelims. Pay attention, because even if the best boys are updating you, being like, yeah, next week we're gonna need this many spares, and the week after we need this many, that doesn't include all the other little random extra people we can have on days like animal wranglers, crane techs, food stylists. If you look on the prelim, you can get an idea of who's gonna be in tomorrow and kind of what you're gonna need. Then at wrap, look at the call sheet, or when you get in the morning, look at the call sheet and look at the additional crew. Then take enough walkies for those people. That should be the same for your paperwork and everything. You should always be stocked up, and you know, if you have a day where there's a ton of new people, you should be taking start packs, a lot of start packs. It's the same with walkies. Take what you need for the day so you're not calling your third every 10 minutes to send you more walkies. So that's the end of that section. Last but not least, section 5 is walkies at wrap. As you get close to the end of the show, you should have a pretty good idea of where all your stuff is in terms of walkies and accessories if you've been tracking. If you did the mid-show inventory, that should have helped. If you've been checking in with people, like following up with stuff that's missing. If it's been a longer show and you know it's a week before the last day of shooting, I might type up one more of those inventory sheets for all the departments just so they can start getting their head around where all their stuff is. Again, for departments like Grips and LX and even Transport and Lokes, it really helps those big guys because they can kind of be like, all right, what do I need to start hunting for because this crazy Tad's gonna come after me. So you get those out like a week before, it gets them in the zone, they start hunting, they're on it, they're looking for stuff. If you have people that haven't returned any, you know, you could start checking in with them when you have time, shoot them a text, be like, hey, I'm gonna be collecting walkies on the last day. So yeah, last day of shooting, you want to have a bunch of big cardboard boxes, which you can get the office to send you, or maybe your third has a bunch stashed in the trailer. Depending on where you are, hopefully you are not out on location for the last day in the rain, because that'd be terrible. If you are, have a couple of FedEx bags you can throw them in if everything's wet, but try and like encourage the best boys, be like, I can't collect these, just me standing out in the rain. Please bring them to the AD trailer. If you're not able to get them to me today, I will be in the office tomorrow. You can drop them off there, or I can have transport come and pick them up from where you're wrapping. There's different ways you can do it. It's all, again, all situational. If you are in a nice place where everything's together and you can be inside, you can get a table, get your inventory sheets, maybe your computer if that's what you built things on, and you set up a nice station. You can do a little thing at lunch. You can scroll the channels and be like, hey everyone, reminder at wrap, I'll be here at the table collecting things, and then at wrap you can do it again, be like, hey everyone, I'm here at the table, if you want to return walkies, I'm here. If you don't want to do it today, tomorrow in the office, I'll be there. Yeah, so you just sit there, tick everything off, collect what you can that day. Don't stress about it too hard because it's gonna be hectic and you're only gonna get so many things back because people still need them to finish off the day. Basically save more of your energy for your day of wrap in the office, but still check off what you get back. Just cause then if the next day someone's like, oh no, I definitely gave it to you yesterday, you're like, nope, didn't get it back, not on my sheet. So then your wrap day. Tads are typically the only AD that gets a wrap day. You're usually just there by yourself in the office chilling, taking however long it takes you to do those walkies. The quicker you can do it, the better, but obviously take the time it takes to do it properly. So you sit down, once again, with all your walkies. Don't take any labels off yet, obviously, but just start by going through your list and looking at what you actually got back. What's also good is to have a couple photocopies of your list, so if you have to go through it a couple times with like different highlighters and stuff, you don't just make a mess of one. Because I've had lists where at wrap on the last day, you know, I tick everything off. Then in the office the next day while I'm wrapping, I like go through it again with like a yellow highlighter, and then like my final one is like a black Sharpie through it or something. But have a couple copies just in case you totally black one out or mess it up or you have to go through again. So after you've just done like a check of what you have, make a little list of what you're missing. Shoot out a text to all those peeps. Just be like, hey, just checking, like I'm here in the office till whenever you can, love to get those walkies back. So once you've sent out all those texts, then you can actually go and start serial matching your walkies with the serial number list. So remember at the beginning of the show, you actually wrote down first AD next to the serial number. So now you can take the first AD walkie, look at the serial number inside, make sure that matches your inventory you typed up, as well as the inventory with the serial numbers from the radio rental company. So if everything matches up and it is like 100% good, it still has the first AD sticker in it, like it's the same walkie you got and labeled as the first AD walkie, then great. You can like officially cross that off your list. Take the labels off, boop, into the bucket. Don't take labels off until you are 100% sure that that is the same walkie and everything matches up. This is time consuming, but it's okay. You're being paid for a day of wrap. It will take the day. That's fine. I've been on shows where people weren't able to get them back to me that last day. So all I did is I included it on my inventory that this person has confirmed they still have this walkie. They will be bringing it ASAP tomorrow. That's totally fine, as long as the information's there and this person knows to come and drop it off. Once you've confirmed you have everything back, it's all in the pile, all the labels are off, you did so good, you got all your walkies back, you're just like, strong work me. You can just take your original walkie inventory that you typed up and write at the top, here is the final walkie breakdown from show. If you got all walkies back, you can just write, all walkies and accessories have been returned and accounted for. Great. If anything was missing, just highlight it in yellow on the breakdown. Also up above in the notes, you can put like grip 3 with the serial number, LX6 with the serial number. And then wherever you want in the notes, I would just put who it was rented out to, what date, even if you have a note of when it was reported missing, just any info you can give them so they can try and track that walkie down, because after your one wrap day, you're done. So you can't really do much to help after that. And then what I do is I print that out. I like to go give a hard copy to the PM. Just be like, here's the final breakdown, this is what we're missing. It's just nice to go over it with them because this is kind of your final conversation before you're done on the show. So you pass that off to them. You can go give one to the production coordinator too, or the office PA, or both. I always like to email it out too, just so people have the email version, but it's nice to like give a hard copy because it's more of a face-to-face interaction. And that's the end of the walkies. I hope it was clear, things made sense. There's a few documents I want to attach to this that should make things a little clearer for you guys, like a sample breakdown, walkie labels, even inventory sheets, because then you can have something to start building off of. Even just having that paper and watching the video together might make things a little more clear if they weren't. If you do have any questions though, there's a lot of resources. You can reach out to the DGC, you can reach out to fellow coworkers. If you even want to creep me on Facebook or Instagram and message me and ask me some questions, I'm totally happy to answer them. Because I love ADing, I think it's really fun, it's challenging and interesting, and I know a lot of people hate walkies and complain about them, but it's one of the first things you really get to take on and be responsible for and be like, hey, this is my job. I'm the TAD. I'm the walkie master. Embrace it, take it seriously, go above and beyond when you can. It's your thing. You can make it fun and have a good time with it. But thank you everyone for watching, and maybe I'll see you on set sometime.